That when the Prophet ﷺ has to endure for a month's time a man by the name of Abdullah ibn Ubay spreading a slander against his blessed wife Aisha radiallahu anha, and he has to sit and still engage the people on a level where they are still his followers, teaching them about the deen, standing on the minbar and giving them khutbah, not having the ability to say that go and take the life of that man who is spreading this slander against my wife, when he is faced with this situation, and then some time later when the time comes for this man's janazah to be read, and his companions are saying to him that, Ya Rasulullah, why are you going to pray for this man? Don't you know what he did to you? And the Prophet ﷺ still goes forth and says that Allah Azza wa Jalla has said that you can seek their forgiveness or not seek their forgiveness. Even if you were to seek it 70 times, they would not be forgiven. And he says that that means if I have to stand on this man's grave and seek his forgiveness 71 times, I will do so. It really happened. It's not just a story. This is a real man that had a real occurrence where he was faced with a real life situation where he had to go out of his way to make a difference in somebody else's life, and he did it. And these are the stories that we hear on a regular basis. That here are people who are at the epitome of elegance. Here are people who are at the epitome of etiquette. Here are people who they would do things that we could not even imagine, things that we could not even fathom. And in our inability to understand that this was a reality and not something that was just there as a story, we have lost our ability to really act upon the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. That he was a man that everyone trusted. He was a man that everyone believed. He was a man that had the utmost of integrity, the greatest of personality. That he was a man that no one could ever doubt him. That he had companions around him that were mindful in ways that we can't even imagine people to be mindful. That you had people that would go out and surrender and sacrifice everything that they had for the sake of one another. And they really did it. But we have become that generation, we have become that people, we have become those individuals where we want to side with those who can be called people who are pioneers, mujaddid, revivers of the deen, heroes in the lives of you and I. That we find our solace looking at television screens and movie screens, spending dollar after dollar on tickets to go and see people live the lives of heroes, and we can do just the same. That I want to have my life lived vicariously through somebody else that is a character or a being on a television screen. This is the way that I find peace and solace in my life. That I side with that individual who takes on all odds. I side with that person who goes as the underdog and fights all of society. I side with that individual who can stand on the television and say that look at what I'm going to do. Look at the dialogue that I'm preaching and speaking. Look at what I can do. But that is not a reality. That we want to have this ability. We want to be those people who can go out and make that difference. We want to be those people who can go out and make that change, but we don't do it. And we don't do it because we have found this kind of passivity. We have found this complacency with just being individuals who would read about it, watch it, but not really experience it. It is enough for me to just hear that somebody else has done it. I don't need to do it for myself. It is enough for me to say that look at somebody else, mashallah, look at this feeling of greatness that I feel inside of me because I have seen somebody else do something that I am fully able to do, but it's great that they did it anyway. Why are we waiting for somebody else to do things that we can do for each other? Why are we letting somebody else be that individual that can make the difference? Can you imagine if the Prophet ﷺ on that fateful day when the Iqra comes down to him, when the revelation comes down to him, and the angel Jibreel alayhi salam says to him that read, and he says, I cannot read, and he has doubts in his mind that he is trying to understand whether he's been possessed by demons and jinns. Can we imagine if he said that I'm not going to go and carry out this mission? From one man you have today over 1 billion followers that are going around proclaiming that there is no God but Allah Azza wa Jal. One man who could not read and write, one man who was an orphan, one man who grew up as a shepherd, one man who lived there in a society that was filled with all kinds of inequities. Here was a man that did not have the ability to even read a book or write certain things, and he was making moves and changing hearts on a mass level like we can't even imagine. One person can be that difference. But what is our ability to really understand our worth and our ability to go and teach somebody something? We don't understand what it is that we can do for one another. We limit ourselves in this mindset where we are thinking solely in terms of intangibles, that there is lofty goals that we cannot achieve. Perhaps I will never be the leader of a nation. Maybe I will not be the individual who will make an invention that will revolutionize society. I might not be the general who leads an army to victory. I might not be somebody who graces the television screens, or you can open up a magazine and see my picture in any of this. I might not be that person ever. But it doesn't mean that I can't be somebody who would help somebody when the opportunity arises. That I can't be a person that would make a difference. That if we were to analogize it to somebody else or some other concept, if we were to try to really understand it in terms of a tangible sense, can we imagine that if we began to do for others and inculcated in them a need and desire to go and do for others as well, what it could do? If I gave you a penny today and you doubled it every single day between now and the next 30 days of the month, at the end of the month you would have over 5 million pennies. If I did a deed for you today and you went and taught somebody else to do it, and they in turn went and told 2 other people, and it kept going and going and going and going, you can't even imagine how it would grow exponentially. The Prophet ﷺ, when he made moves, when he changed hearts, he did it on a very real one-on-one basis. He did not have the ability to go onto the internet and send out mass emails. He wasn't creating websites or podcasts. He wasn't telling people to go and look at this book. He was saying everything with his mouth. He had the ability to sit down with a person and change even the hardest of hearts. This was the way that this man Muhammad ibn Abdullah alayhi salam was. Because he understood that on a very real level, when you had a one-on-one interaction, it would make all of the difference. And all of us have the ability to do that. All of us have the ability where we can begin to inculcate change amongst the people around us if we just choose to do so. You have the ability to greet somebody with a smile on your face, and you will then create a friendship. But without that one smile, perhaps that friendship will never be met. You have the ability to say one word that will introduce an abundance of wisdom to so many people around you. But if you choose to be silent, that wisdom will never be heard. You have the ability to do so many different things. You can take one step in a direction that will set off a journey that you can't even imagine where it would end. But if all you're going to do is sit down and think about things that would just incapacitate you, your life is going to stand still forever. One person can make a difference. One person can inculcate change. One person can make moves on a mass level, mobilizing Muslims and non-Muslims in multitudes, but you just have to believe it. It's something that has to come on a very individualized decision, that you have to understand, that we have to understand that we are not able to do everything. It is beyond our capacity to do everything. And that yes, in this world where we are in the billions, yes, in this world where we can't even fathom how many different people there are in this world, we are one amongst many, but still we are one amongst many. And although it is beyond our ability to go out and do everything, we can still do something. And because we cannot do everything, we should be able to do something when the opportunity arises for us to do so. The Prophet ﷺ gave everything for the sake of this deen. That when that revelation hits him from that point on, we can't say that he ever stopped. And so he is the best of creation. But what is keeping us from even starting? What is keeping us from even moving? What is keeping us in a place where we are fully incapacitated, where we are not doing anything for anybody else, let alone ourselves? One person can make a difference. You can make a difference. You can be the person that goes out and teaches somebody that it is okay for them to be Muslim in the situation that we're